State, city, and county officials seem to think this evening that with the forces they're bringing into play, the resources they're calling upon, that they will be able to contain the situation. As they are containing it somewhat, we heard the number of arrests that were made today, and they intend to have more National Guardsmen on duty tomorrow for our safety. They're convinced that the curfew is working, and for all intents and purposes, I suppose you could say it is, despite the fact new fires have been breaking out since the curfew has been put in place.
And of course, one thing that Chief Gates had said was that he, of course, had hoped that today the whole situation would be under control. Now he is projecting that that will happen tomorrow. And then he said even if it takes 3 days, which if we get control of this tomorrow, it will be 3 days. That is 2 days less than it took to regain control during the Watts riots back in 1965. And of course, he said that this whole situation is far more dramatic and wider in scope than the Watts riots had been.
And the number of dead is growing, as we heard, despite the fact the curfew, despite the fact we've got better police protection now, and all, the number of dead has increased to 24. Of course, the verdict in the Rodney King case is being blamed for the 24 hours of rioting. Earlier today, our Carrie Kilbride and Paula Lopez spoke to a juror who wants to protect her identity, so let's take a look at that and see what we can find from that. All right, I guess what they're doing now is trying to put that in place.
On just how tough a job police have in the city of Los Angeles and the dangers that they face every day, as opposed to what was on that videotape and what we saw, the number of officers standing around Rodney King and beating him at times.
Well, there were not that many officers using the baton on him. They responded to his action. The validity to their hazards in their occupation, that's the occupation of their choice. And they are trained. They operate with the tools they're given. They operate under the instructions they're given, the orders they're given, if you will. And there was no question as to what they had to do. Rodney King chose to drive at excessive speed. He chose to not stop with the red lights behind him for something like 8 miles. And he chose not to do what the officers told him when he was stopped.
Ma'am, you mentioned a phrase, the officers in Los Angeles are operating with the tools they're given. And a lot of people say in light of this verdict, the jurors have now given officers the license to operate with that sort of excessive force, or that strong of force.
That's the whole thing, your choice of words, excessive force.
Mm-hmm.
It was not
excessive in your opinion.
Given the set of circumstances as they were.
Mm-hmm.
There are other tools available that the Los Angeles Police Department could utilize. They looked at a net situation, in my opinion, could have been very helpful in this case. They could have thrown a net over this man and contained him without having to repeatedly strike him. But they did stop striking as soon as he said, as he went into compliance. He actually did not continue in compliance. He continued to fight them all through the handcuffing process. But that's when they stopped striking him. So they simply did what they had to. He, at one time, had 4 policemen trying to hold him down to effect a handcuff situation, and he threw them all off. The man was extremely strong.
Did you expect to hear testimony from Rodney King, and are you disappointed that he did not testify?
We were led to believe initially that he would testify, and we could not take into account anything about the fact that he did not testify. So I can't say I'm disappointed. It would have been interesting to hear his side of what he was thinking about during all of this process, why he did not comply, why he laughed at the officers after they finally got him in handcuffs, all of these things. But that was not something that we were allowed to consider because it wasn't evidence that was presented to us.
Ma'am, while you're on the subject of the officers holding Mr. King down and him, as you say, resisting that attempt, we want to look at those pictures again. I realize that you've been sequestered and looking at this tape over and over, but if you can, it would help to clarify to a lot of people a very hard decision and why you made it. Can you see the tape?
Yes.
We're seeing one officer, Officer Powell, I believe. Can you describe to me what went through your mind as you looked at this?
Oh, the film is horrible. I mean, there's no question. If you don't know anything else about it, the film is horrible. But according to the evidence that was given to us, the policemen are trained at the LA Police Academy to strike a person in the joint, the feet, the knees, the ankles, the elbows, the clavicle, in order to incapacitate him so that they can get him in handcuffs and search him. At this point, all through the film, there was no way of those officers knowing if he had a weapon or not. And he repeatedly went toward his hip area, the waistband area or something, as though going for a weapon. They would back off, as you see them on occasion. It's not a long period of time.
The thinking of the jurors, and it was the action of those 12 jurors, the not guilty verdicts, of course, that ignited the explosion that we've been experiencing now for the past 31
Good morning, everyone. It's now 5:30 on this Friday, May the 1st. I'm Paula Lopez, and welcome to this 9 News special report on the riots in Los Angeles. After 2 days of rioting here in Los Angeles, there is a bit of optimism at this hour. The violence and fires appear to be tapering off. With the dusk to dawn curfew just about to be lifted, here is the latest that we now know. At 5:30, there are at least 29 people reported dead. Numbers, of course, are still coming in. Some reports are as high as 31. We will check on that and have the latest on that for you. Hospitals are tapped out at this hour with more than 900 people reported injured. Officials say more than 800 people have now been arrested. Crimes range from felonies to misdemeanors. And although fires continue to burn, firefighters say the activity appears to be dwindling. Nearly 2,100 structure fires have been reported since the rioting started Wednesday night. At this hour, 5 fires are reportedly still burning, and scores of businesses in our area are closed today. We'll be running down a complete list of those closures coming up in just a moment here. And as we said, there are still fires burning at this hour. There are fewer of them, but they are spread over a wider area. One of the larger ones is in Los Angeles at Pico and Alvarado. That's where Channel 9's Kimberly Moreau is standing by live. Kim?
Well, firefighters have been here about 45 minutes, and luckily they do have this fire under control. What is on fire here is a family clinic, as you said, on the corner of Pico and Alvarado. Again, you can see some burning embers on top of the roof. The building is a total loss, but firefighters are basically cleaning up from this fire at this time. No injuries at this fire, and they have no idea how this fire was set, but it's one of a couple of fires that have been burning this morning. Now, firefighters are still being escorted by police. If we can pan down this way, you can see the California Highway Patrol is here blocking off the intersection of Pico and Alvarado, and there are also CHP officers on the other side, and the firefighters are in between 2 of them. We just saw firefighters stop one man, ask him for some identification. As you know, that curfew is just about to be lifted. He showed him some identification. Apparently, he's a resident who lives somewhere in this area, and then the CHP let him go. We were at another fire earlier today that they also brought under control. You'll probably be seeing some pictures for that later. The most part, what I've seen is either firefighters waiting for some fire to break out, or they are quickly attacking fires in the downtown and Hollywood areas. Reporting live from Pico and Alvarado, I'm Kimberly Moreau. Back to you, Paula.
Kimberly, some of those men have been on the lines now all night long. Any sign that they're going to get any relief in terms of relief of firefighters when dawn does come?
Not at this point. At least no one's counting on that. Not at this time anyway. Again, as I said, there were some areas along Sunset and Hollywood Boulevard where I saw lots of fire trucks, a convoy of fire trucks, you might say, and they are waiting, standing by. No relief in sight that I've heard of, though.
Kimberly, do the firefighters that you see there have any protection around them? Are police around protecting them from the looters and marauders?
Yes, again, California Highway Patrol officers are located on either side of us, to my right and my left, and they are protecting the firefighters. Firefighters are not going anywhere this morning that I've seen, and I've seen lots of fire trucks riding around without a police escort. So at this time, the California Highway Patrol on this side of town anyway is escorting and protecting the firefighters from any kind of injury. And in Hollywood, Los Angeles Police Department out there protecting firefighters at this hour.
All right, Kimberly, thanks once again. As the days have gone by here, the violence, looting, and fire setting has spread from South Central and downtown into outlying areas. We're going to get an update now on the fire situation from Captain Steve Ruda with the fire department. He is on the phone live with us this morning. Captain Ruda, thanks for joining us. I imagine you've been up all night keeping tabs at the situation. What's the latest?
Good morning. Good news for firefighters. We're right now planning relief for our firefighters with the oncoming shifts. Starting around 6:30, we're asking the C platoon, which is coming on at 6:30, for members of Battalion 3 and Battalion 13 to meet at the parking lot at the Chavez Ravine Naval Marine Corps Reserve Center. Division 3 will respond to their respective assignments, as well as the rest of the members of Division 2, except for Battalion 13 and Battalion 3, which is in the South Central area. Firefighters throughout the night had a relatively quiet night. From midnight to 5 this morning, we had over 517 dispatches. Of those 517, 291 of them were structure fires. Presently, throughout the city, we're working 5 structure fires right now as we speak.
Captain Ruda, for the folks who are just waking up, what are we talking about in terms of numbers right now of fires?
Well, from yesterday, from 12 o'clock last night to 12 o'clock this morning, we had 4,833 dispatches that our dispatch center was able to control. Out of that 4,000, 2,000 were reported structure fires, and we had an average of around 30 fires at one time that our strike teams were working on. We had mutual aid from outside agencies that were helping us, and they did an incredible job throughout the night.
Captain Ruda, we are looking at live pictures of a fire that is burning right now on Olympic. I don't know if you're watching that at the time. It seems to be going full force. Can we expect, is this how it's been throughout the night, throughout the past 5 hours?
It looks as though this particular structure, we do have apparatus on scene. Our main concern has been throughout the night, since we have not had as many fires as we have had in the previous nights, is to put more manpower, more apparatus and manpower on the fires so that we're able to get quicker knockdowns. Whereas before, our fully involved commercial structures, we were only able to put 3 to 4 apparatuses on the scene of the fire. So we're able to get to the fires quicker, a lot quicker, and fight the fire faster.
What about your water supply, Captain Ruda? Even though the drought is over, we've seen quite a lot of water used putting out these blazes over the past 2 nights. Are you experiencing any shortage or shortage of pressure?
No, fortunately for us in the early or the late winter here in January, February, we had good rains, which provided good reservoirs. We haven't had any complaints of any water supply problems or water pressure problems. So that way we've been pretty fortunate.
Now, in terms of the relief that you're getting, how far away are firefighters coming from around Southern California or as far north as upstate?
Well, most of the mutual aid response has been here in the Southern California area. Companies from the San Gabriel Valley, Arcadia, Monrovia, South Bay, and also in Orange County.
Do you think you're going to be needing to call in any extra help from other counties and perhaps even out of state?
I think with daylight dawning as it is and the night as quiet as it was, I think the incident commanders will make the decisions this morning on keeping the LA City Fire Department resources here. Another big thing that the mutual aid has done for us has been able to provide protection in the city of Los Angeles while LA City Fire units have been dispatched to the South Central and the Hollywood area.
Have you been getting any help in the form of protection from the National Guard? That was one of the intentions of why they were coming to the area.
The National Guard certainly has freed up resources from the Highway Patrol and LAPD, so that the LAPD has done an excellent job, along with the Highway Patrol, of escorting fire units and paramedic units into scenes of an incident, whether it be a rescue or fires. So they've been tremendously helpful for us, allowing the firefighters to be able to concentrate on the work of firefighters, the work that they do. The LAPD has now been free up because of the fact that The Highway Patrol has relieved them of some of their responsibilities so that they